I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Mahler.
Present.
Councillor Coleman.
Present.
Councillor Gerson.
Present.
Councillor Gorley.
Here.
Councillor Goebel.
Here.
Councillor Nash.
Here.
And Councillor Trask.
Here. Let the record show that of all 7 present with no absent. Consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show I have 7 ayes with no nays. Approval of the consent agenda. Recognition of visitors and hearing petitions. Jamie Kate.
I had heard she was coming, but I don't.
She's a candidate for the 17th House District. She wanted to introduce herself and tell a little about herself and what her future plans and her goals if she was elected. So maybe she'll come here a little later and we can hear from her. Now I'll open it up for recognition of visitors and hearing petitions. Anybody would like to come forth to be heard? Okay. Old business. Request for council action, resolution number 25 for 2020, surplus city hall annex and donate to the city of Detroit, Oregon.
Basically, this one is, we've got an RCA there, and it's my understanding that the modular unit, they call it a modular unit behind City Hall, it's known as the Sweet Home Annex, 1996 structure. We would like to donate it to Detroit, the city of Detroit, and we've done up a resolution. Brandon, the resolution that will be signed has an extra line in there that just says it will become immediately effective upon its passage and approval. But the idea here is to help out the city of Detroit with surplusing the Sweet Home Annex so that we can donate it to the city of Detroit, help them with their governmental function. The only thing is that we will express that if they don't use it, that or continue to use it sometime and it still has value, that they pass it on to some other city that can use it.
With our consent, correct?
No, it doesn't have our consent. The committee is basically there's no strings. Anyway, you can do whatever you want, but right now it was talked about, and my understanding is that it's a gift to them with just a request that if they don't use it, that they do the same thing.
Yeah.
That was my understanding.
Any questions of councilors?
I have one of Greg. Have we had any options, but we haven't gotten any results yet?
No, we've had 2 people that said they'll try to fit us in, and we've made contact. Matter of fact, we'll reach back out again, but every week we've been kind of given an update.
Yeah.
And it's just everything that we're understanding is they're all focusing on new homes because people are buying.
Yes.
And they just don't have the time. It's kind of a specialty item to have that ability to tear it down, put it on wheels, separate it, and transport it. So.
Okay.
We'll keep pressing.
Yep.
We're kind of at their mercy.
Mr. Mayor, so Greg, does the city of Detroit have any contacts to do that kind of thing? Maybe we need to talk to them too, because obviously they're going to be moving those kinds of structures into the community.
I think it's the discussion. I have not had any contact with any city representatives of the city of Detroit. So I know there's been some higher discussion. I can get directed. We can reach out to them and after tonight and have some conversation.
I have the number for the mayor up there. I could give him a call tomorrow.
Yeah, I already have an appointment with, he's gonna come down on
Okay.
Thursday because he asked to come see it and he wants to see some of our equipment here at our current city hall. And so I can talk with him at that.
Okay.
Well, in discussion with the mayor of Detroit, he said that he possibly had something that possibly can move it too.
Yeah.
And then Ray was gonna reach out to Sherry Springer and see if she had any information to help out.
And
I will check and see if that happens.
I know he did reach out to Representative Springer and she's working on helping with ODOT and the need to actually transport it.
Mhm.
So.
Okay. Any other questions? Need a council directive.
So moved as recommended.
Second.
I have a motion second. I will require this to be a roll call, please.
Counselor Gorley,
Aye.
Mayor Muller,
Aye.
Counselor Gerson,
Aye.
Counselor Trask,
Aye.
Counselor Coleman. Aye. Counselor Goble
Yes.
and Counselor Nash.
Yes.
Let the record show I have 7 ayes with no nays. Approval of the surplus donation to the city of Detroit. Next, STC update project discussion.
Want me to go ahead?
This presentation, we have two guests with us. One is Deb Gallardi. The other is Austin, sorry, I'm forgetting your last name.
Rampin.
Yep. Sorry, Austin. Anyways, they're gonna talk to you. Greg can probably provide a little more background on kind of what we're looking for, and then there's a timeline at the end of this to kind of figure out what's the next steps for SDCs and where we go from here. So, Greg, I'll let you.
Yeah, just kind of get you up to speed. We've been talking about the need for SDCs, and we were directed to go out and we worked with Murray Smith and Deb as a sub, and they've gone out and done a lot of the calculations, looked at our projects and developed a basis of for our updating our SDCs. We've come back and presented some of the dollar amounts, and so there were some questions that came out of that discussion tonight. And like we talked about, we need to make decisions on certain topics so then we can actually develop the methodology. And I think Austin and Deb have a presentation for you that can probably get us there quicker than I am. So let's get them on and kind of go through, answer some of those questions, and then look at the time frame, and then we can maybe answer any more questions that we have.
Okay, this is Deb Gallardi, and our presentation is very brief because I think there's just a couple of points of feedback, decisions that we need in order to move to the next step, which would be to write up the analysis and issue the methodology report. If you want to go to the next slide. So there's one kind of methodological decision point that we need your feedback on. So because it does impact the methodology, and therefore when we issue the methodology report, that really needs to be based, produce the SDCs that you then are going to act on at your city council public hearing. We have to follow Oregon statutory process for all of that. And so we need to get feedback from the council on whether you want the parks SDCs to be assessed on residential development only or on all development. And right now, we had presented at prior meetings that this decision point would decrease. Obviously, we would be recovering the same amount of revenue. We would be just shifting some of it to commercial and non-residential development, and that would therefore decrease the SDC slightly for commercial or for residential development. So it's just a question of equity, and I would say that about half of the communities in Oregon charge parks SDCs on all development and about half on residential only. So it's really the legal requirements are not prescriptive in this case. It's really a local policy decision. Do you want to spread the costs over all development or just residential? So that's one decision point. And then the next one, if you go to the next slide, is we understand that you want to have the total SDCs not exceed $15,000. And based on the calculated numbers, we came up with something that's about $18,000 total for a typical single family residence. And so you have some choices there about whether you want to have us develop the methodology report with that maximum number of the 18,000 and then just adopt by resolution fees that are discounted to achieve that 15,000, or do you want to make changes to the project lists of any one or more of the SDCs to achieve that lower dollar amount? So it's kind of, do you want to go in and make changes within the methodology and the project list, or do you want to just say, okay, we need to reduce the fees by 15%. We're just going to do that across the board and not try to, go in and take away projects to reduce that fee. So, and that's, I think I'm not sure who's running the slides, but if you go to the next, oh, sorry. Okay. And then, so what we need answers on those questions, and then we can, what the city needs to do then is establish a public hearing date, and we've put in this schedule February 1 as probably the soonest that you could do it, because once we get these decisions, then we need to write up the methodology report. So that's take each system, each of the 5 systems, write up the analysis and the findings and the recommendations. And that has to be published 60 days prior to that public hearing so that any developers or other interested parties in the community can review that. And that's why we need to know, the answer on the parks, whether that's all development or residential only. And that report will include the fees. And so if we want to make changes to those, any of the systems to get at that $15,000 number, then we need to do that prior to issuing that report. You also need to issue a 90-day notice in advance of the public hearing. So once you've issued that notice, you're really kind of locked into that public hearing date. So those are the decision points that we hope that we can get some feedback on tonight.
So I guess kind of, I'll put each of the slides up that they're looking for kind of council responses on and direction, and then we can kind of go from there. If you need some more information, certainly Director Springman or myself or Deb and Austin can provide some support.
Okay, at this time, council feedback.
Mr. Mayor, so you said that 50% of the people of these cities do the parks and 50% don't around?
Well, no, about 50% of cities will do bullet 1, which is assess those SDCs on residential development only.
Right.
And about 50%, the other 50% will assess the parks SDCs on all development. And when you think about it, you think, well, residents use parks, neighborhood parks are near houses and things like that. But there are, in Lebanon and other areas where I've done this work, we've looked at Parks reservation systems are often used by businesses or institutional development. You have, visitors or employees sometimes on their lunch hour will use parks. So there is a nexus, a connection between non-residential development and parks also. So you really can go either way on this, and it's just a question of whether you want to spread those costs over everybody or just have residential pay.
So if we decide to go with commercial and residential, can we waive those fees from the commercial at some point, or are we locked into making them pay it?
Well, there are certainly examples of communities who, for policy reasons to advance economic development or other objectives, will waive SDCs for large employers or, something like that. I think you have to be careful when you start to, make some of those, you have to have real clear policy basis for why you would waive the fees for some development and not others. And certainly if, so if you think that you're going to do that on a regular basis, then you'd probably be better off just to assess the fees on the residential development. If you're concerned about the impact on, and you're wanting to encourage business. And so this is why it's one of those local policy decisions that you can decide based on your other objectives and priorities and concerns. But it certainly is a way to recover some costs and reduce the burden on residential development if affordable housing is, for example, a key concern as well.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we've been so far behind on our SDCs since 1900s that I'm concerned that I don't know if we'll ever get caught up, especially in the parks and all the rest of our streets and everything. I just don't know. I don't know where I'm at on that. I'll be convinced maybe here before we're done.
Any other councilor or feedback, thoughts?
I think we should assess it to residential, not commercial.
What's that?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't think we should assess extra taxes for employees.
I mean, there's both sides of, I understand your point. There's both sides. You gotta keep in mind that business also benefits from decent parks, because that's what brings sometimes somebody to your community. If you have nice parks, which means the business is gonna benefit that from the increase of business from increase of residents. So I guess you gotta look at both sides. Do you do it equally or just do it with residential only? So that would be my thought with commercial and residential. The business does benefit to a certain extent from it.
I honestly think we have a long history of businesses taking an active role in our community. And I think we're kind of almost shortchanging them by not sharing that ownership with them. And so, you're right, some businesses do benefit from that. And if they're wanting to attract quality employees around their business, they're going to benefit from the upgrade within the community.
I was thinking we didn't invite some ownership from businesses into the community to have that spread out with them as well. I think that we want to attract businesses who value the whole community. Although I see the benefit of just residential, I'm thinking it might be good to include that for the commercial as well.
Diane?
I don't think that it would necessarily deter anybody who wanted to bring business into the community. I think they would see the value of parks. I'm kind of on the fence on this myself, but I like the fact that the 6% decrease for the residential fees, that appeals to me.
Mhm.
So I guess I would think we need to include commercial in the parks.
Counselor Nash?
I like the savings for the residential. You know, I mean, I think there's other rooted conversation for getting businesses into town, but as far as this here goes, I think the commercial needs to be included on it too, if they're, because we got parks right close to the downtown area.
Okay. So I take it we have a consensus of council for commercial and residential combined.
Aye.
How about the 15,000 versus 18,500?
Mr. Mayor, I thought we brought this up and beat this to death for quite a while.
They're
So the question is, how do you want to allocate that?
allocated.
Do you want to, reduce the project list in the capital improvements project list? Or whether you want to discount all of your fees, 16%? Or if you want to take a specific SDC fee like transportation or parks or whatever and knock that one down in order to get your 15,000.
Mayor, didn't we talk about that 15,000 coming at the end of 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're looking at a gradual
It was a
increase.
gradual up to that, but, I'm opening up for, I'll start with Councilor Nash. We'll go around and see if any changes to the thought to that.
Not right at the moment. Give me a minute.
Okay? Councilor Goble, what's your thoughts on
No, we said something for the 5 years, so.
15?
So in order to get to the 15, we either need to reduce our CIP project list or reduce everything by 84% or just reduce a certain SDC, correct?
Reduce it to 84% of the amount, so
Yes.
decrease of 16%.
Yes. That's what. How long would it take us to rework our CIP project list?
I'm thinking we would have to basically pick which ones we would want to leave out. And so there would be a target amount that we're trying to remove from the CIP list. I don't recall, do we have those prioritized, the CIP list? So we would probably go in order of priority. Whatever has the lowest priority, we would remove projects until we got to that target amount.
So would that mean a full council meeting again?
I don't know the process on that.
Because I'm thinking that one needs to be eliminated if we're going to take up more time. But that's just my thought. We just eliminate that first option because it's going to take too much time. So then we either reduce all of the fees by 84% or a specific one, but that's my input.
I think related to that, it would depend on whatever the council direction was. If council wanted to see that, you approved the CIP in the first place, so it would be appropriate for us to bring it back here. If council wanted to, as part of this decision, say, you know, staff, we're directing you to get it down to this 15,000, go forth, then, you know, that would probably work as well.
Don't you have a magic spreadsheet for that?
Yes. I do, actually.
Mr. Mayor, we came up with the $15,000 max. So did I misunderstand that when we got to the 15,000 that we could adjust that and not take that amount or make that amount and lower it at any time we chose to? Is that correct? So if the second year was $9,000, we could deduct some of that off of there just if we decided to do that without a big hassle over going back 90 days and all that stuff. Is that the way that works, or did I misunderstand that?
You can so the fee levels are at your full discretion. The methodology and the project lists establish this maximum amount, which right now is about 18,000 total. And you do, there's nothing that compels you to charge that amount. If your plan is to phase it in over 5 years, you can adopt a resolution that basically has that phase-in plan, or you can decide every year, but as long as your methodology that you adopt separately as a part of this process establishes that, you can, this maximum amount, how you get up to that is really your call. We just need to know if you want the maximum that the methodology produces to be the 15,000, or you want it to be the 18,000, so you continue to have discretion to go up to 18 at some point should you choose.
Okay, my last question is, we need to make a decision tonight for you because we need to move forward.
This will allow us to write the report, which then the clock starts ticking to meet those 60, 90-day
Okay.
processes, so you can take action in February.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So Deb?
Yeah.
Could they then choose to leave to basically leave the CIP project list alone and say, go ahead with the methodology of up to 18,000?
Yes.
But then go and in the resolution adopting the fees, do a schedule to ramp up to 15,000 and not go above that, and have that in the resolution?
Yes, absolutely.
So that is another option for you. You could, because the methodology, my understanding of it is the methodology is the justification to charge the fee. All of the data that's been collected and analyzed that justifies these charges. You have the freedom of, in your resolution adopting the fees, to go anywhere you want up to that maximum amount, that 18,000 and change. And so if you want to cap yourselves at 15,000, you could do that within the resolution. You don't have to do it within the methodology. Is that correct, Deb?
Very, very well put. Yes.
So then down the road, it's capped at 15,000, but down the road, if things are going good and the person wants to get rid of that cap and take it up to the 18, is that going to be an option also?
That would be the resolution, the council has that power, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's the direction we should go personally, but.
Mr. Mayor, are you talking about going to the 18,000 and then adjusting it, or just the 15?
15 cap and then resolution today.
I think that's what we have discussed
Yes, we have.
forever.
Just want to make sure that that's all on the same page for that. So that's the direction we want to go.
Okay. So then you have to answer these questions then. Do you want to remove projects from the CIP list, or do you want to discount all of those projects in order to get to that target 15,000? Or do you want to discount just one SDC to get down to that 15?
That's a tough one to make.
That's why I suggested the other thing, because it's easier.
Yeah.
But
So what's the consensus of council?
What's the downside to putting the 18,000 in there? If you don't use it, you don't use it.
the main reason, the only reason I can think of doing that is if you want to bind your hands in the future to keep a future council from charging that full 18,000 and change without going through all this methodology again.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the only reason to do it that way, if that's what you want to do.
Mr. Mayor, I think the resolution that caps us at 15,000 sounds like what we've discussed. So Blair, are you saying that if we write the resolution that caps ourselves at the 15,000, that's the 5-year mark, we still need to make these decisions, make a choice between the three?
No, if you're doing it all by resolution, then this question doesn't even need to be answered. They would go ahead and do the methodology for the full 18,000 and change. And then in your resolution, you would limit yourselves to 15,000.
That's what I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe we're talking about the same thing, and maybe we're all on the same.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were talking about.
Okay, because you could certainly do it all by resolution, and then you don't even need to.
That's the direction we want to go.
Okay, so what would happen then is they would put together the methodology, finalize it all. It would have the justification to go to 18,000 if you wish, but then you're going to, in your resolution, limit it to ramping up to 15,000 over a period of time.
Yep.
Okay,
And then we want to do residential and commercial.
is that clear, Deb?
Yeah, that's exactly what we need. You'll need, before, that's what we need to do for the methodology report. You'll still need to make a decision in terms of the 15,000. Is that an across the board reduction to all the SDCs, or are you wanting to hold harmless any of the systems? Like, we absolutely need all of, the maximize the funds for wastewater because we need to be able to fund those projects, prioritize. But if you don't need to make that decision until the resolution is drafted, which can be at any time before the public hearing.
So in your resolution, you would want to, would they want to state that in the resolution itself?
Yes, because the resolution will need to have the fee schedule, and the methodology report will have the fee schedule that sums up to the 18,000. So for whatever revised, phased in schedule, you'll need to have that as an attachment to the resolution. But again, that doesn't have to be prepared until, until for the February 1st meeting.
So that gives you more time to decide how you want to put it in the resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving now to request for council action, resolution number 26 for 2020, CDBG certifying officer resolution.
Okay, so in the past, every time the city has applied for a community development block grant, there has been a resolution naming the city manager as the certifying officer, basically allowing the city manager to sign documents rather than just the mayor. That's what the last time a resolution like this was passed was last, I believe, January, when we did it for the housing rehab CDBG program. With the CDBG programs that we've done in response to COVID, we thought we could use that same resolution and have the city manager sign all the documents, but now we're hearing that no, that was limited because of the way that resolution was worded. It limited it just to that housing rehab program. And so the thought, rather than coming back to you and passing resolutions for each individual application, naming the city manager as a certifying officer, we're proposing a resolution that simply gives a blanket authorization for the city manager to be the certifying officer for all CDBG applications that the city engages in, and regardless of what program they're for. And so that's what this resolution would accomplish.
Any questions of councilors?
Does this eliminate the need for, or the ability for the mayor to do this?
No, the mayor can still sign.
Okay. Council directive.
So, Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass resolution number 26 for 2020, clarifying the authority of the city manager to execute documents related to community development block grants.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show I have 7 ayes with no nays. Approval of resolution number 26 for 2020. Request for council action, resolution number 27 for 2020, authorizing transfer appropriations.
All right. It is my favorite time of the year after budget, in which we are finalizing everything to hand over to our auditors. will be here starting November 9th. So this supplemental budget resolution before you, transferring authorizations to various departments and organizational units, is kind of the last piece of that puzzle. So I can go through each of these if folks would prefer that, or I can just let you ask specific questions, whichever the council would prefer. I'll take your direction.
Council questions?
We have to do it, don't we?
Not, so yes and no. I guess, you know, certainly this isn't to back you into a corner at all. These items are essentially stuff that will show up somewhere in the audit, usually toward like the 3/4 of the book that highlight items that were overdrawn. And at that point, it indicates, you know, there wasn't a council, the council didn't wish to have those items covered in that regard, and to leave the budget in the lines that it was originally allocated in. These items are all items that have gone through council at some point, with council indicating that they supported these items or they had voted on a contract that moved them forward. And so it's kind of just housekeeping really at the end, but certainly it is the council's discretion as to whether or not they want to put this through.
Any other council questions? Council directive.
Is this resolution 27?
Yes.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 27 to 2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilor Gerson.
Aye.
Councilor Trask.
Aye.
Councilor Coleman.
Aye.
Councilor Goldwell.
Yes.
Councilor Nash.
Yeah.
Councilor Gorley.
Aye.
Mayor Muller.
Aye. Let the record show 7 ayes and no nays. Approval of resolution number 27 for 2020. Request for council action, resolution number 28 for 2020, replacement of public works street sweeper.
We have been before you a couple of times regarding the Public Works street sweeper. As you know from prior conversations, the sweeper is in either desperate need of repair, which we've covered in the past is quite extensive and would cost a significant sum of money, or we need to replace the unit. At a council meeting on August 25th, the council indicated that they would prefer to review options to replace the sweeper. We did not bring that back right away, as staff was kind of doing additional research into what sweeper would best fit the city's needs. So Public Works staff had 2 sweepers on site four sweepers on site throughout the last couple of months that they were able to demo and really get a feel for what's going to work best for us, what is going to potentially provide a better cost benefit to the city, and what will have a lower maintenance cost in the long run. So we've brought this back before you. There are numerous options in this request for council action. The first option certainly is that the city could purchase a new sweeper. Staff has provided a recommendation as far as which sweeper to the tune of, I think it was $210,000 and change. You could purchase that sweeper using city funds. There are 2 sources for which that could occur. One is to provide an interfund loan and purchase the sweeper outright with or without interest as repayment. The benefit to this plan is certainly that as the interest rate is lower. 2, as the city receives street maintenance dollars from the state of Oregon, some of those dollars would be what would go back into that Fund 570 or that street improvement fund. If you'll remember, that fund has maintained right around $1 million each year, and we've used the interest earnings to complete minor projects and accomplish tasks that needed to be completed. The benefit there certainly being the street sweeper benefits, street maintenance and street upkeep. And so having those state gas tax dollars provide the annual contribution to paying for that sweeper is beneficial in that regard. Your other option is a lease program through a third party, which we've provided their option in the packet for you. And then certainly the city could entertain purchasing a used sweeper, which is also, some information is also provided in the request for council action document for you.
At this time, I'll open up for questions or feedback from council.
So it's a very specific amount. Is that the cost of a sweeper that you have found? I thought we were looking at a lower price.
Originally, when we brought this in August, there was a lower price on the table. It was for a different type of sweeper. And to that, I would probably defer to Greg and Dominic because they know about the technologies of street sweepers, whereas I know spreadsheets. So Greg and Dominic can better answer that for you.
So I'll let Dominic speak here, but we spent a couple months and what I tasked Dominic and Tommy was to look at our options out there, what's local, what is best use for us, what is our best value, all of those. We brought several units on, and I'll let you talk about. But that's kind of where we've been with this, is trying to fit what's best for us. We could always go out and find something used that would fit our needs for a certain amount of time. I think what we're finding too is a lot of these used sweepers, they keep them for a certain amount of years. They be coming from the Midwest. They can be coming from different parts of the region. There's not a lot of used ones up around here. But I'll let Dominic talk about some of the workings and why we're choosing this particular model over the other model.
Yeah, so the original one we brought, the $165,000 one, was basically a smaller version of the one we have now. And when we started looking at that's called a regenerative air. So it blows down one side, pushes debris across and sucks out, creates a vacuum up the other side. So it's got two tubes, it's got two motors, and it was originally made to sweep airways, flat basements and highways and stuff like that. Tommy actually was looking and said that pure vacuum, which is this like a shop vac, is sucking material up, would clean our roads that aren't as smooth better, and it's going to pick up more of the rock and sand where the other ones don't. So what was the other question? Oh, and then the other style which we demoed was a mechanical, which is just a big broom that knocks it up onto a conveyor and into a hopper.
And the one that we were looking at before is similar to what we have. The fan units, the wear parts are actually inside that tank, and that was something that Tommy and Dominic pointed out. The models that we're looking at there's no moving parts inside those boxes. The debris box can be filled up larger, so it can run longer. The debris box is also stainless steel. The problem with some of these things is by the time we get them 7-10 years, if we get used, we're talking about rubber and metal parts that are already starting to be on their life. Rubber's wearing out, the metal. Now, it would serve the community for a period of time. But going back and look at some of the costs, I mean, you're still looking at anywhere from an 07 to a 13, you're looking at $75,000 to $120,000 for a sweeper. That's already got anywhere from 7, 8 to 12 years already on it. This is why you guys get the big bucks. I think the community would be served better if at $206,000, if the amount of hours that we're going to run it in a year with the less wear parts, that comes to a cost of about $13,700 a year if we keep it for 15 years. It's about $17,000 if we keep it for 12 years. I know my streets fund can afford that. And I think this would be the type of equipment that would serve this community in our streets. I know not having one, just getting into the leaf season and having those storms, you see how quickly our roads turn to being clean, to being destroyed again. And it's having good equipment to make us more efficient and do the things that we need to do. We'll do whatever you guys want us to do to direct, but I think we'll get a lot more years out of the community and probably be better served with what we have. With that, I'm going to let you guys make the decision.
Council Goble.
We, as a council, really gotten away from getting used stuff. We've seen what the used stuff has gotten us in the past. That's a big chunk of money, but I just want to add, I am not in favor of getting anything used. Again, because that street gets used way too much. And I don't know, like he said, our streets are starting to look really good all the time. And we need to have something that can actually be used continuously for, like you said, for 15 years. So I guess they can use.
I got out of Nash, so.
Well, he's talking about a stainless box, you know, I mean, that's, what do you guys say, the warranty, that's like a lifetime?
Lifetime warranty on a stainless.
You know, so I mean, and with the less moving parts, you're gonna have less maintenance. And just the interest alone of what's in there, I mean, because Mike was talking to you earlier, Brandon. I mean, the interest alone, we can pay for that on its own. You know, so my question would be, I mean, would we be better just to pay it out, or is it getting more cost effective to do the 5-year thing and keep drawing interest while we keep some of the money in the account and get what they need so we can keep this city going in the way it's been going very well?
Part of what Councilor Nash and I were talking about the other day is the Fund 570, that street improvement fund that has right around $1 million each year. That fund was the money was given to us during a kind of a road transfer, a jurisdictional transfer from Lynn County back in the 90s, early 90s. And for the most part, that $1 million has just kind of sat there. It has accrued interest, and that interest has been used, like I said before, to provide some street maintenance, to do some minor projects. I think on a good year, that fund earns anywhere between $25,000 to $30,000 in interest a year. So part of the consideration and in line with option one here would be that we could just take that money that we've accumulated over the last nearly 30 years and certainly purchase that sweeper outright. Then again, the other option is options 2 and 3 there, where essentially that Fund 570 loans the money, as we talked about earlier, to the street maintenance fund that receives those gas taxes, and then the state's gas tax revenue that we receive goes to pay for that sweeper, because it's providing that regular maintenance that we see out of that fund and with those gas tax revenues. So you really could go either way. Certainly, you know, the 1% interest rate, it's not a lot. That's the current LGIP local government investment pool rate, which is what ORS says that the council could potentially authorize an additional repayment at. It's really kind of a what the council sees as the best fit for the community. Is it, you know, going ahead and taking care of this right now? Is it paying for it over the next 5 years using our own internal funds, or is it holding on to the cash that we do have, continuing to accumulate interest and taking a loan from outside the city and paying for the sweeper that way?
And then we pay more interest.
You do pay an addition, yeah, there is an additional interest rate there.
Well, my feeling on the matter is that if you buy used, you potentially are buying someone else's problem. And you can end up putting a lot of money down a toilet real fast if you get a lemon. I don't think we should be buying used. I'll leave it up to the council as far as the financing of it, but in my opinion of it, we should be buying new.
If you get one used and you get something back from the Midwest area where they have a lot of salt, I mean, the insides of those boxes are gonna start getting tore up. I mean, a pickup over there only lasts 3 to 5 years and the frame is gone. So there's no point in even remotely getting something that has had that type of usage already.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, Greg or Dominic, is there any warranty on that thing for a certain period of time or not?
There is. I believe that one has a 2-year on the truck and chassis and
A lifetime warranty on the hopper.
the hopper's lifetime, but I think the sweeper parts is 3. There is some warranty
Okay.
on it.
Mr. Mayor, I too was a little surprised by the higher cost one, but then listening to Dominic's explanation as to the benefits of the one that's a pure vacuum, you called it?
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention was, myself and Tommy, we went over to Lincoln City. They have a similar model and Newport. Lincoln City loves theirs. Newport, the guy I finally was able to talk to, they said they hated it. So I wanted to go, one, Lincoln City guys are really nice. They're an awesome shop to go to. A lot of information with the mechanic and the operator there. We weren't able to stop in, we tried to stop in Newport, nobody answered the door. Lincoln City kind of said Newport's that way, but on the way back, we were getting numbers between us, and we figured at $40,000 more, that more expensive sweeper is gonna save 30 to 60,000 just in fuel costs and service costs on the engine alone. And another thing, the motors run at a lower RPM, so you're not using as much fuel throughout the day as you would the bigger motors, or the ones that need that extra RPM with it.
Yeah, this unit only tops out at 30,
30.
excuse me.
Yeah.
The turning radius, because it's 4-way steering, is like 9.5 feet, so you can turn it around in almost one lane.
You gotta remember, you get what you pay for.
Right?
Yeah, way better, yeah. And we don't have to worry about going out of town, going down highways to travel. So, our dump site's either at Clarkville or the sanitation, depending on what we're picking up, what type of year it is. So I don't think the speed limitation is gonna affect us at all.
But you didn't find out, why Newport didn't like theirs?
From what I gathered, and this is secondhand, not coming directly from, is, let's say, you have a guy that's been there a long time, I'm not gonna say he's old. And, you know, some people get used to certain styles and certain things. And, you know, maybe they have more highway sweeping than what Lincoln City does, and they just like that bigger machine. I don't know.
But Mr. Mayor, I think that it would suit our needs better as far as what we know that they're picking up when they're sweeping our ground is there are rocks involved. And in my area, I can tell there's been rocks left on the ground because we don't have the right sweeper right now. So yeah, it'd be great.
They really can't do, I'm not knocking this, but they can't do because I'm in a cul-de-sac and it's pretty narrow, but I like it when they come down the road. I really do. It makes a big difference.
Will you be able to do his road with the new one?
We try to stay away from this road.
I don't blame you. Anyway, go ahead.
I put a bunch of nails and stuff out, but Mr. Mayor, I think that we've been pretty blessed with being able to be able to purchase newer stuff and some new stuff. And I think that that's a big plus for us. And we haven't had that option in a long, long, long time. And, you know, when you get some 10-year-old or 15-year-old vehicle, you've got one that's probably pretty much going to be toast in very short time. That's my opinion. And so I really think that it's best for us I do not like doing a loan. If we have the money to do it, I'd rather see us do that and somehow, and I mean, we've got enough loans on our plate as it is, but I would definitely vote for a new one. Because Dominic, you know, he strong-armed me.
Mr. Mayor, I personally like the interfund loan because I think that we can continue to earn interest on our own money and then pay ourselves back with that income. I think that's a wiser way to handle our finances since we actually have those. I don't want to go outside the city to do a loan, but I think that it would suit us well if we could maintain that balance and earn interest on that balance. But that's my thought.
I agree with that, but it's up to you as the council. So.
So, Mr. Mayor, I kind of like that interfund loan also, because it sort of forces a little bit of savings. The interest forces us to save a little bit into that account. So, yeah, I kind of like that. Now, I agree, we need to go new. We can't.
I think everybody's on the same page about buying the unit that's recommended. But to me, it's more of a conversation as to the methodology of how to finance it, whether or not we use money that is sitting there. This is what I understand. Sitting there that we have, it's free and clear, and we don't have to pay out any interest. I've now always been intrigued by the concept of paying ourselves interest out of money that we have.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that.
Me either.
We're taking money and putting it away for tomorrow. So just put money into savings. I don't understand it. So you're telling me that an interfund loan to ourselves is at a greater financial benefit to the city than just outright paying with it, with the money that's set aside that we got with that transfer with the county?
In short, yes.
Okay.
The reason being, if we're spending the $206,186 right off the bat, that fund loses out on potential interest earnings down the road. Yes, it seems weird that you're repaying yourself an additional interest rate, but basically what you're doing is you're refilling that fund and giving it the money that it would have earned had that cash still actually been sitting there. And so that way the fund doesn't ever lose any ground based on what actions you've taken.
But that,
You convinced me.
okay, that money has sat there for how many years?
Thank you.
Haven't used it and just collected interest. So it's,
The only thing with that is don't know many about these funds, but that fund came from the county, and the philosophy from the beginning, and you can change your philosophy, but the philosophy from the beginning is we're not touching the principle of this, because we know if we touch this, it's gonna go away and never come back.
Yes, that's
This
true.
is all we're ever gonna get for our roads, for the roads that we incorporated in there. So that's sort of been the philosophy. Whether that makes sense in every situation like you're saying or not, I'm not sure, but that's been the philosophy for that money. That's why it's there now, is because everybody has said, basically, predecessor said, we're not touching this $1 million because that's all we're ever gonna get from the county for these roads. And if we touch it and pull money out of there, then it's gonna be gone.
but we take the interest off of it, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right, but
That's-
the
yeah.
principle has always sort of been, left alone.
And Mr. Schneider's right. The other thing that I would remind council of is we have a large project coming at the STIP project out 58th and 56th to 60th now, I think it
The
is.
sidewalk project?
The sidewalk project, that we're gonna use 300,000 of that. So at this point, the city and the budget committee and the council have made a determination that it's time to start tapping that money.
Well, based on ODOT, it maybe go from 56 to 56 Half Street.
Yeah. You may not live that long.
So yes, it has sat there for a very long time because of that principle, that, leaving that was kind of what the city wanted to do. That's kind of changed recently as we have pushed forward with projects and the need to complete additional tasks.
So I understand, by making the yearly payments instead of just paying it outright, you're leaving extra money in there to draw a greater interest rate on it. Now, the 1% thing, that's just a sleight of hand, isn't it?
You're not gonna see a whole lot out of that, and it's just because of where interest rates are today. Certainly, this same time last year, we were up in the 2.75% range. So it was significantly better.
It's not going up anytime soon.
Well, yeah, so because even if we just went with the 0% interest, we're still gonna be gaining interest off that $1 million, and we're probably gonna be gaining more interest than.
Right.
It's
So
worth not even dealing.
the 1% interest means that we will put approximately 5,000 additional dollars back into Fund 570 by the time this is done. And it comes to $4,834.86, to be exact.
That's
So,
some extra overtime that they can use.
so it's not a lot, certainly. And again, given a different time, pre-COVID, things are better, but it's something that then gives you an option to decide how to kind of manage the finances of the city. We as staff will present in the next budget, certainly as we have done with other new products that we've purchased, setting funds aside each year to prepare for the eventual replacement. So that instead of this conversation, what we come to you next time when we need to replace a street sweeper, and hopefully a very, very long time from now, is here's our budget, our proposed budget. Oh, and it includes a street sweeper because we have the funds set aside for that specific purpose. So we'll continue that practice.
Any other questions? Okay, need a council directive.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to do option 3. Move to give staff the authority to engage in the purchase of a replacement sweeper at cost of 2,000. Yeah, anyway, that number. Resolution number 20 for 2020, establishing an interfund loan with a repayment interest rate of 0. And staff, did I have to read all this?
Nope.
Okay, I'm done.
I have a motion.
Seconded.
Second, roll call, please.
Counselor Trask,
Aye.
Counselor Coleman,
Aye.
Counselor Goble,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Mayor Muller,
Yes,
and Counselor Gerson.
Yes.
let the record show 7 ayes and no nays approval of the purchase of a new sweeper.
What's the timeline for getting it here? You already have it?
No. If we can get a PO in sooner than somebody else, we might be able to get one in a couple weeks. If somebody else has already snagged it, then we're looking at probably about 90 days.
I'm sure that he will come visit me after this meeting.
Write him a check, friend.
Yes, yeah. I know somebody that'll sign it. Well, I think he will.
Okay, moving on. There is no ordinance bills, nothing for readings. Reports of committees, anything would be brought up? Nothing to be brought up? Okay. Mayor's report, all I can do is shout out for all those to make sure you vote. It is coming up. And for my fellow counselors that are running for the election, I hope you wish you the best of luck. And hopefully there's no makeup change in our council. I really enjoy this council. I think we were going in the right direction as a council. And I wish the best of luck of our counselors that are running. City manager's report.
I'm used to this. I didn't really prepare anything, but things are, given that Ray's been gone last week and pretty much this week, I'm pleased that things are going fairly smoothly.
Have you had to buy anybody donuts?
I have not, but maybe I should. My understanding is Ray's gonna be back tomorrow or Thursday.
It's up in the air.
It's up in the air, but he has a COVID test scheduled at least. And so would be working from home until cleared.
I think we'll see him at the minimum by next Monday, the latest.
When's Julie gonna be back to keep you guys straightened out?
Julie is returning to keep us in line on Monday.
Yes, so that's the more important thing.
Right. And you don't have to rely on me for all your goodies.
We never did.
So other than that, I don't really have anything else.
Okay. Department directors, any questions for our department directors, or department directors, do you have anything to bring up?
So, Mr. Mayor, so Jeff, I just want you to know, I like the bike patrols. Thank you for starting that.
It's cold in the morning.
I know it's cold.
Are you riding a bike to work?
No, but I went out, early Friday morning.
Yeah.
It was really chilly.
You're not doing wearing them stretchy pants, are you?
Oh, yeah. Wait till you ride by.
So when I was out in the neighborhoods, they were talking about people driving too fast down the little hill by Sankey Park and then coming out from the Elks. And so the traffic monitor that we purchased, I understand we were having problems getting an agreement with ODOT to put it out on the highway, but what about in the neighborhoods? Are they usable in the neighborhoods right now?
Yeah, we actually had two that bounced around in the neighborhoods at different locations. And I'll put that on the list, those two areas, because I had heard the Elks.
There's a lot of children up there too, and so I heard it from different neighbors up there.
We'll work on getting those two out and deployed. Two apparently are going back for some warranty work.
Okay. And the other four that are supposed to go on the highway, that's kind of my fault. We were hoping to get those like on 18, Long Street, the bigger areas, because they are a little bit bigger sign with the solar panels, and I just haven't had the time or the
Manpower.
yeah to dig them out and get them working and learn how to use that software. Which we have to. We had a little bit of an incident a couple months ago, hanging one of the other ones where it almost fell on somebody. So we got to come up with a different system to hang those on the poles.
So what was the speed of them getting out of the way?
Honestly, working in the street, wherever we're at, then it doesn't matter what street the people complain about speeding. It's just something I've noticed, and I think your emotions and your feelings towards your own neighborhood. People just think that car that's going 17 is actually going 35. But I think so far our data has shown that.
I think they would feel better if they saw that out in the neighborhoods, because then it would be a testament to them. They could see it for themselves. So,
We'll get those two locations on the list.
thank you.
I do have one more question.
Councilor.
So Jeff, how's community court going?
Tomorrow is the next community court, and so there have been two that have taken place. They've been attended, and so I think it's going to be a little too early. I'm not sure when we'll have any kind of indication. Maybe Brandon knows more about how successful it is. I know a number, and Robert might have some other input. I know a number of individuals have engaged some services that are in there. Now, again, finding that the data that supports it, that's gonna be tricky, I think.
I can add that we've had both providers and clients come through that community court and have been pleased with the services and the offerings. Some of the folks that were referred to community court were very appreciative of the opportunities to kind of wipe the slate, get a second chance, and move forward. So there is excitement about the community court. It's just, it is, like Jeff said, a little early to tell if it's going to.
The nice thing, each client that's going through community court has an advocate assigned to them that is really intended on helping them remember, get to follow through with certain requirements that are put on them. So I have high hopes for it.
If I might.
Yeah.
So I have one thing I'd like to add to my report. If you haven't gone to the county website and checked it out yet, the tax reports are out. And it actually bears good news for the city. We had budgeted for compression to fall 1% from 19% last year to 18% in this current year. For this year, compression has actually come down to 15%. So if you'll remember, when I started just a little over 2.5 years ago, the city was sitting at 35 or 38% compression rate. So to be down in 15% is amazing. I don't really have another word for it, honestly. It does mean that we are anticipating additional revenues above and beyond what we had budgeted for. Specifically in the police and library levies. And of course, those funds will stay in those funds to be reallocated for the following year when we do the budget process. But certainly good news all around as far as property taxes are concerned. This room.
Well, I have one now that I think about it. We just still don't have any process or progress on the K-9 thing yet, so.
No, we're holding status quo right now until we figure out what's with the grant.
Yes, yeah.
And once we have some indication on that, I really don't expect anything until the first of the year.
Yeah, probably not.
Making a determination, so the vehicle we have is still rolling around, so we're gonna just move with that.
Okay,
until we hear from the grant.
Where are we sitting with the officers? I know we got Bingo's now. Don, I wish him the best of luck, but where are we sitting with openings?
We have 2 new officers. One's in the academy, so he's not necessarily new. He's been with us for, he really pretty much hired him. He went straight to the academy. He came from another agency that lost him position, so he had already had an existing academy date, so he was able to keep that. So we kind of funneled him right up to the academy. Yesterday, we hired another officer. His name's Ian Mason, and he's just relatively fresh out of the Marines, and so we're excited for him. He's from the Salem area, and we have high hopes for him, and we'll try to get him in the academy as soon as possible. But really, that's not going to be till after the first of the year.
Yeah.
With that.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. And like I say, let the officers know they're doing a great job. Appreciate all their efforts.
Yep.
Anything for council business is good of order?
Just wanted to say that the charter committee met tonight and will meet again November 17th.
Okay, anything, city
A
attorney?
rather robust discussion.
Robert, did you have anything? Okay. If there's nothing further, we will adjourn at 7:45.
Yeah, it doesn't